this paper?
No.
Oh.
I had to find the right piece of paper.
Things have gotten far too serious.
Join me in rising above our notes and our flows, and let's think about the round from a necessary distance from each of our current perspectives.
Our argument in Debate 101 form is as follows. The unique link.
Debate has reached the inner point of the reversal of its own logic. It only simulates itself in a cancerous, incestuous continuation of the same. The other, the radical other, is always excluded.
The internal.
Excluding the other in replication holds becoming. Becoming is humanity's destiny.
The impact.
The world takes its revenge for our hubristic attempt to transcend our destiny. The way that we debate literally causes cancer. The world is both an ironic and a symbolic agent. If we don't become, then we will all disappear like the dinosaurs. Yes, the negative has conceded that the way that we debate will cause asteroids to wipe us all out.
The plan.
Bring becoming into debate.
Charge debate with the empty space necessary for becoming to take place, the pathos of distance.
Come to an understanding with the reversible evil logic of the world and always think the world in the context of the world thinking us. The act of thinking about the world
Thinking debate.
shadows the world and shows it its own meaninglessness like a mirror. This changes the world and causes the world to change itself. We want a crisis, a change built off of emptiness and negativity, rather than a catastrophe, which is a change from overfullness. Because catastrophe is of the order of extinction, while crisis is of the order of becoming.
The easiest analogy of why debate will change with regards to our affirmative is to think about the relationship of a photographer and a person being photographed act in the moment of the picture.
Not only does the subject, the photographer, size up his object, the photograph, but the reverse is true as well. The photograph presents herself to the photographer in a particular way because she too sizes the photographer up through that lens. She will not react in one particular way, but taking a picture of her causes her to look at us through that same lens or mirror of the 1AC's fatal theory, which diverts and seduces her to a new destiny and can make her become. They have conceded the following arguments in every single one of their speeches, which will guarantee us the victory. The first is that there's an infinite number of meanings, which necessarily means that those meanings and that terms become absolutely meaningless. We affirm the topic in this respect. They did not extend across any definitions in their last speech, nor did they made a press in any of their speeches that indicates that the resolution has meaning, that words, by having meaning, can be established as particular meaning. This means that they will always lose this particular round because they don't have a link into their argument about what it means to affirm the topic. We are not choosing to affirm whatever in the hell we want. Our argument is that it ultimately is meaningless. It concedes that they have considered our argument that the topic strikes a pose and that it changes poses throughout the year, which is a good game. I will answer their only piece of Baudrillard evidence, which is an ad hom right now. It says that the only offense they have against this argument about meaning is that Baudrillard at once upon a time ordered some pork at a restaurant and he got pork. Proves Baudrillard's an idiot, right? No, I don't think so. Actually, what it proves is that over a short term, you can establish some kind of meaning. That's what our 1AC's argument is about. That's what we are about, duality, not about the exclusion of logic, reason, meaning, anything like that. Rather, we are about the production of those things as the ultimate illusion and about recognizing how good and evil go together, how truth and illusion go together, and the way they open onto one another. Secondly, they have conceded our incest arguments, conceded that insular educational practice is self-destruct like the insular bloodlines of the royal families. The 1AC is critical to good policy education, which does not exclude the radical other. Our argument is that if we win, that we lead to better policy education, then we mean that we will win, that we lead to better policy makers in the long run, because we will not do exclusionary practice that overlook other people within our own potential community. And the third argument is they have conceded our becoming 1A, our impact evidence, which is the biggest impact of the round. That literally is as big as the Khalazad impact card because it says it's critical to survival. This card is a fucking bomb. I can't believe they dropped it. It says that if we do not change and if we do not grow, then we will stagnate and ultimately die. It even makes sense in the context of a number of metaphors about the Ganges River, or perhaps about any particular well. Whenever you drink from that particular well, i.e. the well of the knowledge that the negative tries to purport, you ultimately die because it's a stagnated kind of knowledge. And fourth is that debate in the world think about us. It means the subjects, not only that the subjects are not the only agents in the world, but also that debate itself is an agent. The objects and our systems of objects have agency, and we have to change those objects in order to create changes on us. This means it is futile to resist the affirmative. They have conceded our metaphysical argument about the fact that good and evil go together. They might say that this is only at the bottom of the 1AR. That is bullshit. This is the reason about reversibility, why too much meaning leads to no meaning, because good and evil ultimately go together. Our argument is that the more you lead to the exclusion of those things, they will ultimately return as the repressed underside of that kind of exclusion. The fifth argument is that they have conceded that we link to zero of their arguments because the 1AC is not exclusionary policy debate. We are only a form which goes for, we are only a dual form which goes from policy debate, critical debate, and allows the interaction and the sex of those things. And the sixth, they have conceded that changing political science solves all their arguments. They have four link arguments. First, about the Vietnam captain. First of all, we do not destroy the village to save our argument is that we make the village uncomfortable in order to make it move to a parallel destiny, to one which is not exclusionary. They extend across their Albert and Gentleson evidence. First of all, they have not proven a propensity to become a good policymaker. Secondly, they extend across the arguments from above about the way that we lead to better policymaking because we allow the interaction that we are critical to non-exclusionary policies. And third, extend across that political science sells back all of your offense because you do not want you do not want a policymaker that hasn't been educated in political science classes. They say banking education, there's no explanation of banking education, nor is there a particular impact. this argument will say that debate is just as much making education in the world of your framework that we have to talk about these kind of politics. This is just fucking stupid. They say that this is the hallmark of critical thinking, but it might be the hallmark. It's not the hallmark of critical thinking whenever you don't critically interact those arguments with arguments such as our Booker argument. You just say that we should radically exclude those arguments. Remember, none of these arguments ultimately lead to offense. They say the switch side debate, first of all, they have considered an argument you can do switch side because you can run the topical policies and just defend it as offense against our case. You just didn't do this, and Brown will answer the counterplan right here. They don't extend across the impact. Don't vote for this argument. Also extend across the permutation that we can do your counterplan of the 1AC because the 1AC is only about debate. They said there's no reason to vote for the affirmative. No, the reason to vote for the affirmative is duality. Our argument is not about fucking nonsense. Our argument is about the necessity of returning meaningless to establishing a particular kind of no meaning within the debate. They say that they extend across their crisis bad arguments. I want to extend across our no link arguments because these evidence are all about the economy. These at the end of the round. These make sense. The second is there's no link because these all assume that you will establish some kind of us versus them with your crisis. We don't do that because we inject ourselves in the debate community in order to destroy ourselves. This proves that there would never be a propensity to annihilate the other. They say that judges don't get to choose. We lead to a race to the bottom. No, we don't lead to a race to the bottom because they have conceded our arguments about the fact that there's no meaning even if the world that we lead to a race to the bottom. They've conceded that debate is itself a race to the bottom. No one defends the entirety of the topic. They extend across their cancer metaphor arguments. I'll answer it here first of all. Or did they? No, they didn't extend across that stuff. Okay, they say they allow becoming topical. This puts the endpoints topicality. I explained this earlier. They say Shibley and their Lewis evidence about how they did take over by the right. This is all answered above the party arguments. First of all, there is no link to the party arguments because it is a bad metaphor. We affirm the topic. This is about meaningless. And secondly, because it doesn't link because everyone in party always gets a resolution right before the time the affirmative voice has a fucking choice. This argument is just stupid because the way party works. It's just a misreading.